Jerry, welcome. Did the pollsters, did the experts get it wrong in talking about a potential red wave, or was it sort of right?
Well, it depends on how you slice that question. At the 10,000-foot level, I think the polls were basically right. They said the race for control of the House would be close. Republicans would have a slight advantage. And that's kind of what happened. What didn't happen was what some people read into the polls in the final couple of weeks, which was that there would be a developing red wave, that the movement back toward Republicans that we saw in the last month or so of the campaign would keep moving and would crest. And I think maybe what people missed a little bit was a bit of a snapback toward Democrats. And why did that happen? Well, I think one of the things that happened was that abortion rights, the woman's right to choose an abortion, didn't fade as an issue as much as some people thought. I think Donald Trump proved to be a drag on Republicans net. An interesting number out of the exit polls said 3/5 of the voters who cast ballots yesterday had a negative view, an unfavorable view of Donald Trump, and 3/4 of those people voted Democratic. So that was a problem. I think Republicans suffered a little bit by not having a very clear economic message, frankly. I mean, they thought for a long time that simply running against a relatively unpopular Joe Biden and inflation worries would be sufficient. I think they never developed their own answer to here's the inflation problem solution that we stand for. And finally, candidate quality matters. I think some of the candidates that Republicans put forward, and you just have to look at Pennsylvania with Doug Mastriano in the governor's race and Dr. Oz in the Senate race, probably weren't their best and most reliable candidates, and they paid a price for that.
I think it's very interesting, as you said there, the Republicans certainly made the economy and inflation the issue, but maybe they didn't have the solution. The Democrats seem to have no answer on inflation to me, by the way, but that's just me. You say that it was a great night for Ron DeSantis and not such a great night for Trump. I think Trump, what I'm hearing you say is that he's both a motivator for Republicans and a motivator for Democrats.
Well, that is what Donald Trump is. He's a motivator for both parties. And the question, since going back to 2016, is who is he a better motivator for, Democrats or Republicans? And, it may have been a slightly better motivator for Democrats than for Republicans in some places last night. So I think Republicans will step back from that and say, what does this tell us about whether we want to continue to be a party that's essentially led by Donald Trump, or do we need to go in a different direction or at least diversify?
Why do you say it was such a good night for DeSantis, whom Trump this morning is already tearing off after?
Well, look, Ron DeSantis won on two fronts last night. First of all, he won a giant re-election win in Florida in his own right. I mean, far more, I think, than most people expected. He was projected to win, but not by the margin that you see in the margin on the screen there, not by that margin. So he blew away the Democratic opponent, who was a credible opponent in one of the most important states in the country. So that's item number one. Item number two is that he benefits now by being the leading alternative to Donald Trump. He is Trumpian in many ways in terms of the policies he supports, and in some ways the style he projects, but he doesn't carry any of that Trumpian baggage. And so if you're a Republican looking at this landscape today, you're thinking, well, maybe that's not a bad ticket for us. Now, there's a long way to go, and we didn't even know that Ron DeSantis is going to run for president. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on him from within the Republican Party, from people who want a Trumpian alternative who's not named Donald Trump.